on iHeart and Apple, iTunes, and all where you get your podcast station. I know you guys are coming on live, and everyone is going live now on the other channels. Um, Welcome to Bridges Live, and I'm Dr. Paul. And don't adjust your TV set. That's right. You are seeing me live on your TV. For those of you on the podcast, you don't see it, that I have a visual up as a screensaver. As Zoom has these different things where you can, what's a TV set? And so it's pretty cool. It's pretty neat. I like it. I saw it and I had to have it today because I'm like, hey, I could be on TV. Well, as you know, today is Mental Health Mondays. And Mental Health Mondays, we go over mental health things we're doing. Um, I had some couple of questions from last Monday of explaining some things about, it was about choices and trauma. And well, let's go over between the mind and the brain. And and I like going and talking about the mind and the brain and the difference of what they actually are. And someone said to me that I think it needs to be explained between what is consciousness and what's the mind and what's the brain. And I said, really, I thought people understood that the mind and the brain are not the same. And I was wrong because after discussing this, no matter how much I like to think that people understand things, I'm glad I get the questions about if they're not the same. Okay, so the brain, let's just do this real simple. Help, as you can see, I voted today. First time, and I'm going to get into that, but it's a very emotional day and it's a very emotional week. This has been an emotional election. And so this is part about the mental health Mondays that I want to talk about. And we have talked about this before and not allowing things to affect your. I'm logging on and people asking questions. So if you have any questions on live YouTube and live Instagram, you can always ask me questions. And if I catch it without getting in too much of a rant and rave, I will definitely answer it. Um, the brain is a processor. And what I mean by a processor, it cannot do without instructions. It's your computer, okay? A computer does not have any anything until you give it its learning process. Does that make sense? Mental health. And so your brain's the same way. All by itself, it's all it does. It does receiving and transmitting. And in that, so what is the mind? The mind is what you develop. And what you develop, and of course, we have the different um, things that develop it. You have environmental, you have nature, nurture. You have things around you, you have things within you. Those are the things that develops the mind. The mind is takes that information that you're receiving from your senses as a human being and puts it into the chemical process of the body. Before I get into my news thing, because I wanted to do it like a news channel, but before I get into there, I wanted to at least just go over the mind and the brain. So when we say change your thinking and change your life, we mean change your mind. Because your mind is only going to give the same information to the brain for the same action to happen in the body. Does that make sense? So if you are reliving trauma, and I like to talk about trauma, if you're reliving trauma and you don't change your connection, perception, and how it's going to process and how you want it to change in your life, it's going to still kick off a chemical response in the body. That's why addicts will, or alcoholics, or anyone who's addicted to something, because it triggers a chemical response in the pleasure center of the brain. Okay, so that's the difference between. So the mind is what you develop or what has been developed for you. Now, can you say that someone has been brainwashed? That's really the misnomer in that. You're really mind washed, because if you're brainwashed, what you're saying is that your brain, and now, okay, let me back up a little bit. Your brain, most often, people are working what you call an habitual action. So 90%, 80% of their lives is something that is formulated or formed already from a young age, or what has been trained to do. That's why when we are doing live action training, or we're training with different tactical responses, or training it, we are training our response time mentally and physical connection. So there's a difference. When we're training on those things, we're training our response time. You can condition that where you fire that much faster. That's why athletes do repetitive training. Okay, that's why many people do repetitive training, so they can get their chemical response firing quicker, right, on a subconscious level, without a process of thought from the mind. Okay, because once you see it, it's going to act, and then the body kicks off. That's why people who are afraid of spiders will jump no matter how big or how small a spider is. If they see something that looks like a spider, they're going to flip out. That is a chemical response of that's a chemical response of the brain, but that's a subconscious act of the mind. Okay, if you stay what you call present mindfulness, and I will get into that later when it comes to talking about mental health and other things, because people use mindfulness wrong, and I'm not going to get into that. As a practicing Buddhist, it really means present in short, but I understand why they use mindfulness. So just in, off the hot off the wire, like a news report, I voted. We know that all elections should be very emotional. All things civic duties should be emotional. And it's tough to say should be, because I don't like to point because I think when people use should, they point their finger at you. And I don't want to point my finger at you. I don't want to tell you or demand for something for you to do. I don't. Then why would I use should? As a democracy, as a republic of people, it takes us to create the republic. It takes us to be part of the cog of the wheel and it turns. There's many civic duties that is part of that. Voting's only one. Voting's only one. But at the least, voting is one. At the most is service to community, offering, giving, allowing love. Offering, giving, and allowing love. We can allow, give, love in many ways. Love is the pillar of humanity. Outside of that, people will have perceptions, deceptions, creative matters, and all those other things. But let's just focus on love, right? Love of humanity, and you're part of that. So civic engagement, just the one, it's voting. The reason why I think this is, we have felt more of this in voting this year and it has more to do with mental health. And we know that, and I want people to understand that there's many things on the rise because of this pandemic, and we're not out of it. We have states going up, we have some states going down, we have some states on the second wave. We're going to keep doing this like a storm, okay? A snowstorm or tornado, it comes, it goes, it moves. There's cat fives, there's four. We're going to have all those things talked about and conveyed. And it brings up some sense of emotion for us. It brings up some sense of, oh no, oh, right? But it's still just what it has always been, even from the beginning when it started. We have to be safe. We have to be healthy. We have to be mindful of others, not of their beliefs or their perception, but let's wear a mask to keep other people safe. Even if you don't believe you want to wear your mask, like, you know what? I don't care about what about others, right? So just think about someone else, okay? We have to wash our hands. Hopefully we're doing that anyway, but be more so, keep social distancing. We know that this is just helping, because eventually, not a viral scientist, but we're gonna, there's only so many ways we're gonna finish this off anyway, so I'm not gonna get into that. So this pandemic has cost us a lot, has cost a lot of lives, has cost a lot of jobs, has cost a lot. And that emotion and those feelings and those actions has created more drinking, more suicides, more abuse, more child protection issues, more, just more. That whatever you can think of, the numbers are tripled. There's only so much. If you see something, say something, right? But the people who are doing the dirty and harming these kids and harming these women and men and being abused and all these evil, sick things, it's been so concentrated. It's been so concentrated because we've had no relief. So these elections, not just the one, because there's judges, right? There's representatives, there's Board of Education. I mean, there's much, 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 much more to vote on. There's measures in your town, in your city, in your state. There are reliefs. There's things to do. There's things to know. There's things to understand. There's things to ask a lot of questions about. It's not just one thing. It is all things. And as humans, we are connected to all things. Mentally, emotionally, and physically, and spiritually, we're connected. So Mental Health Mondays, I want to talk about, so going back to the voting, this is the first time I have voted with someone. And that struck me as a sad moment, because I think this is the first time that many people who have voted are able to vote with their significant other or spouse. Because of COVID, it allows you, because you're working from home, you have the time. There are many people who have been married for many years, and I've asked the question, they've never had the opportunity to vote, but this time they're able to do that. There's this time they're able to vote with their kids. There's this time they're able to do certain things that they could not have done before. So when we talk about Mental Health Mondays, and we talk about how to heal, how to voice and ask for help and get help. And if you need anything, just look around, ask for help. Tomorrow night, for those you don't know, on the 27th, not tonight, on October 27th, that I'm going to have guest on, Lisa Woods, triple negative breast cancer survivor. That's going to be, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, as we know. And cancer's been in my family, it's been in my children's family. It's very important to all of us, very important to people. People have passed for cancer. People are going to pass from COVID. People are going to pass for all kinds of things. People pass on and move on to the different realm, and it does affect us. But if we are unable to talk about it, then it keeps creating a negative impact in our lives and in our communication with our community. Don't allow trauma to be your voice. Trauma will speak through you because you're in so much pain. And you're like, well, it's been so many years ago. But that's okay, because mourning takes time. There is no set time to finish mourn, and people mourn in different ways. And mourning, most people look at mourning as that they're like, well, I'm done and I'm over with it. That is just not true. Mourning takes a process. Mourning takes a lot of growing through. And when you're getting mental help, when you're getting mental health help, say that 3 times. But when you're getting help, it takes work. It's painful. There's stuff that comes up that you thought it was done for. This, unlike what you're seeing here, it's not like you can just change the channel and your mental health is in a different light. Mental health is not just about changing the channel. It's about focusing on the channel and enjoying the life that you're watching and living. Allow yourself to allow yourself. Allow yourself to have a choice with the information you're getting through different professionals. There are resources that it doesn't seem like everyone can get, but that is just not true. You either have to ask the right person or ask someone to help you find the right person. Because if you don't have an opportunity, then you've never had a choice. And then that comes back to what the brain has been doing for you. You've been keep triggering the same chemical responses in the body that will cause, what has causation, right? That will cause you to physically do something externally. That's the connection. Because your thought process has not changed, the chemical process stays the same. The chemical process stays the same, the physical body does the same. We can get into specifics if you have any questions about, if I have this type of thought, what is the chemical and what is more often the action? Most people do know the two. Most people know the action and most people know the thought, but they don't know the chemical reaction. And I got a question for you. And this is just a question that comes up. Do you think anger is normal? I'm going to ask again. Do you think anger is normal? We'll talk more about it next week. I'm going to dive right into about anger, and we're going to break down some of these feelings. And anger is going to be the first one we're going to rip apart. Do you think anger is normal? I like to say thank you. I don't keep you long unless I have a guest and we can talk more about mental health. I hope I cleared up some of the difference between the brain and the mind and the difference between the two. I also want to say, get out and vote. I voted. We voted. And people voted. And in this state and in your states, early voting is here. If not, we're going to wait for a day. And with the news that is coming, whether it's for or against, however you want to view information, is it for you or against you? I'm going to stand now, sit now, ask you, please, no violent action. I'm going to plead with you, no violent action, no matter what the outcome is. No matter what the outcome is, no violent action. We just have work to do. We have lives to live for, humanity to be better for. So please, no violent action. Thank you all for listening to Mental Health Mondays. I'm Dr. Paul Dyer, Grandmaster Dyer. We like to work on all things connected to mental health and the physical and the spiritual realm in this body. So if you have any questions, please contact me. And you can always see this and replay this on my YouTube channel or my webpage and drpaulholisticscience.com. And you can always contact me through those different social media. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, and I'm on LinkedIn, and then I'm on YouTube. So please, I hope everyone a very healthy Mental Monday. Thank you. Namaste. Thank you, everyone, for watching Mental Health Mondays. I'm going to be shutting down. I'll catch everyone next week.